the Ron and Brian podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
And good evening, everybody. It is Monday night. It is 8 o'clock. It is time for episode 262 of the Ron and Brian podcast, broadcasting today, Juneteenth, as we took off Sunday for Father's Day. Brian, how are you this evening, sir?
I'm doing great, Ron. It is Monday night. It's a rare Monday night where we are doing this podcast. I think the last time we did this podcast on a Monday, if I'm not correct, it was 1985 when we decided to take a pause on our Sunday recording to properly honor the greatest president of all time, Ronald Reagan.
That's right.
Who had just been reelected. So we waited to do the show on Monday because Sunday was national holiday, as we all shined in his glory. All hail Ronald Reagan and his memory.
Very nice. Very nice.
Ron.
Right. Yes.
I never get to ask.
Yes.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Brian. I had an active weekend, busy, but had a nice, relaxing work day today, and ready to do this podcast if you're ready.
I'm ready, but more importantly, you said you had a relaxing day. Today is Juneteenth. I was wondering if you could take a moment to let me know how you honored this great national holiday.
Respectfully and personally. How did you do it, Brian?
Explaining to people why this is a holiday. I'm not saying that the type of people that I spent time with today in various forms of communication were not necessarily on the Juneteenth train, but I did find myself quite often having to explain its significance as well as why this is a good thing for America.
Right. Not a lot of people are in tune with Juneteenth, so thank you for spreading the word, Brian. Appreciate it.
Listen, it's what we do here. We lift and support.
That's right. And we drink. Like right now, it's Drink of the Week.
Drink of the Week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the Week.
Crunch it.
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the
Brian,
week.
what are you drinking this week?
What am I drinking? Oh my goodness, Ron, you are looking right here at a can of Montauk Brewing Company's Easy Riser, which is a Belgian white ale. You may say, can you describe Easy Riser in a few words, Brian?
I'd love to hear
I can. Easy Riser is Montauk Brewing Company's take on a Belgian-style wheat ale. It's mellow and easygoing, like a gentle rising wave as it approaches the shore. This brew is the perfect expression of the Montauk vibe, embodying the pure and relaxed enjoyment of the no-frills good life. Brewed with coriander and orange peel, Easy Riser is incredibly smooth and, as the name suggests, incredibly easy to love. Coming in at a 5.0 ABV, I expect crushableness. I expect refreshingness. I expect two words that don't end in any SS. I'm going to take a sip, Ron. Watch me enjoy this beer.
Let's see how it goes down. It looks very light, very refreshing. How is it?
I'm getting the citrus of the orange peel. I'm not getting the coriander, mostly because I do not know what coriander tastes like.
That'll do it.
So that's going to be my beer. What do I rank it, Ron? I rank it 3.5 suds out of 5.
Would you say it's a good drinking beer for Hot Podcaster Summer?
Hot Podcaster Summer.
It is, and I plan on having 3 of these today.
All right,
So
very nice.
that's my beer. Ron.
Nice. Yes.
Ron.
Yes, my friend.
Ron.
Yes.
What are you drinking?
I'm not sure. I may have had this one before. This is from our good friends at Tavor. It's a collab between Urban South Brewery and Brewmate. It is their watermelon sour patch fruited sour. It is watermelon sour gummies, and vanilla ice cream. This is clocking in at a stout 6% ABV.
Ooh.
It's got a nice fruity little finish right there. So let's take a sip.
I like it. It looks healthy. It looks like a healthy beer.
It's good to definitely getting the watermelon, getting the sour, a little bit of creaminess there from the vanilla ice cream. Better than lactose. I know you're not a fan of the lactose, Brian.
I hate the lactose. Hate the lactose.
It
Take
doesn't
another
make sense.
sip. Walk me through it.
I believe I just did. It's fruity, sour, and creamy.
I was expecting a little bit more verbose of an answer.
We've got such a packed show here today, Brian, that
Okay.
I did not want to spend too much time on Drink of the Week. In the meantime, it's time for Beef of the Week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
The New York Yankees.
Oh, as we both wear our Yankees caps this evening.
It's because we represent. We care. We absolutely care. Why are they bothering me? First, they lost to Boston. The Red Sox, it's not the same rivalry that it used to be.
Right.
But I still cannot accept the embarrassing. It was a sweep. We lost all 3 games, correct?
I believe so. And didn't Red Sox come in with like one of the worst records in all of baseball?
I don't think they're that bad. I believe they're still a pretty decent team. They're in last
my
place
mind
in the
they are.
division, but
In my mind, they
So we got swept by the Red Sox, which is just utterly embarrassing. But more so is the fact that as friends of the show know, I had tickets to attend. Ascend. Ooh, that was a Freudian slip as I enter the heavens. I did have tickets to attend the June 7th event starting the Yankees against the Chicago White Sox of the American League. As everybody understands, that game was rescheduled as the weather conditions due to the smoky haze coming down from Canada made it just unsafe for people to be outdoors for long periods of time. I believe I read that being outside on that day was the equivalent of having 8 cigarettes in an hour.
something like that.
Anywho, to make a long story short, my rain checks just totally disappeared in the Yankees app.
Well,
And
that's not cool either.
I am trying to get an understanding on what happens to those tickets.
Right.
And I have not gotten a straight answer. I've gotten the those tickets, the annual season ticket holder that owns those tickets, they will receive a refund. I've heard, oh yeah, well, just use it for the game when it gets rescheduled. This game was rescheduled for the following day as part of a doubleheader, and there was no honoring of those seats. So I'm stuck in this New York Yankees bureaucracy. Never would have existed if George Steinbrenner was still around. But yeah, I'm trying to find out what happens to my tickets for that.
All right. Well, I hope it works out for you, my friend.
Thank you. But you seem perturbed right now. You seem annoyed. You seem angry. Ron.
Yes.
What's bothering you?
So my problem, Brian, is with continuing supply chain issues. I don't know if it's COVID related, don't know if it's inflation, don't know if it's staffing or what it is. But I've been attempting to bring some new podcast merch to the table. The turnaround times seem to be ridiculously long. So that has been very upsetting. I apologize to all of our frequent visitors of our web store. But
Sure.
At the very least, I can announce that one new piece of merchandise has arrived. It is the Straining Brian sticker. Is he pooping? Is he passing a kidney stone? Is he getting pegged? I think half the fun of these stickers is the fact that you don't know. You have no idea what might be going on. So these will be going up on the web store very shortly. And if you are a Patreon subscriber at the bronze level or higher, yes, we will be sending you some of these stickers for free. So those will be going out in the mail. But again, it's the Straining Brian sticker. Very
Can we
excited
get a little
about
close
this.
up of that sticker? I'd like to see, because I have no memory of that photo.
So we're looking to get this merch up on the web store tomorrow. As always, go to ronandbrianpodcast.com.
Considering, Ron, that you do not know how to use our web store, do you want to send me a link to that and I will update our web store?
Matt, can you handle that? Matt's saying he can handle that. What's that? He's also saying he needs an 8-ball. So, Brian, are you excited about the new merch?
I am excited about the new merch. I am struggling because I do not remember taking that photo.
Well, I would say you were also struggling in this photo right here if I were to look at it.
It doesn't look like I was on the bowl. I'm wearing a cap, which means I'm outside. Where was it?
I'll wait and see if you remember. But in the meantime, Brian, it's time for our stories of the week. We always have some stories that really hit us right here in the heart, and we want to make sure that we don't miss them. So, Brian, what is your story of the week this week?
My story is actually an update on a story that was that all across the news last week, but I believe that this week's update warrants my story of the week. Ron, do you remember the name Bella Montoya?
I believe so, yes.
She is the woman that was invited to the White House during a Pride event last week, I believe it was. And she is a trans woman, and she took her shirt off and displayed her breastises.
So you are changing your story of the week, and you throw me off when you do that.
No, my story is about Bella Montoya, who is a 70-year-old Ecuadorian woman. I believe you're thinking of Rosa Montoya.
Oh, my
Tony
apologies.
Montoya?
One or the other.
Say hello to my little friend. So in that case, you know what? I'm not going to make the joke, Ron. I'm not going to make the joke about the trans woman Montoya and her little friend, because that is low-hanging fruit, Ron, and you're better than that. You're better than that.
Thank you. So what is
Anyway,
this follow-up story you have?
I got to reel this back. So last week, all across the news was a woman from Ecuador, Bella Montoya, 76. She was inside her coffin, as the body should be during a funeral. When out of nowhere, there was seeming a noise emanating from inside the coffin. People immediately opened it up to see that Bella Montoya was in fact alive. She did not actually pass away. All across the news was, how does a woman get declared deceased by a hospital, by a physician? I know, Ron, you're going to say, hey, it's Ecuador. What can you expect? I don't accept that. That's not okay.
Right.
I don't appreciate that kind of hate speech that you are so commonly prone to spit out into this universe. Anyway, my story, what makes this story so great this week is that as everybody a week ago was sitting there heralding Bella Montoya and the fact that she was alive and she survived her own funeral, is that unfortunately she is now dead. That is correct. The retired nurse did die from a stroke while she was being watched under permanent supervision in the ICU of her hospital somewhere in Ecuador. Her family, her son, Gilbert Barbera, was quoted as saying, "This time my mother really did die. My life will not be the same." So she did spend 5 hours inside the coffin on June 9th after hospital workers had originally pronounced her dead after she suffered from cardiorespiratory arrest. However, 5 hours later, when she was inside the coffin, she woke up in the middle of her wake, shocking loved ones that had gathered in the city of Babahoyo to mourn her death. Unfortunately, she really is dead now, so we now really will mourn Bella Montoya, 76, of Ecuador.
But not everybody gets to practice mourn a family member. So I feel like having that dry run, this family got something that a lot of people don't get.
See, this is what bothers me about Matt. Did you see what he just put in the private chat? Put that photo back up. Matt just said in our private chat, that she really should have worn a bra to her wake.
I already closed that photo off. I apologize.
Please don't put it back up, because I think Matt's comments just crude,
Inappropriate.
just absolutely crude and not appropriate. It's not what we want to do.
All right. My story, you ask, Brian? My story? I know I was going to make the Princess Bride joke with Montoya, but
Sure.
William was already ahead of us. So my story, Brian, is about a TikTok influencer who faked his own death before turning up at his funeral in an attempt to teach his family a lesson about staying in touch. This is David Berton from Belgium. Even told his wife and children about the cruel prank, and they helped him pull it off. His daughter even went on social media to put, quote, "Rest in peace, Daddy. I will never stop thinking about you." He has apparently over 150,000 followers online. And so they actually arranged a funeral for him. And then he arrives to the funeral in a helicopter and then gets out and lets his family know that it was all kind of a ruse, and said that we should all try and spend more time with each other.
What a fucking terrible human being. What a terrible human being to fake your own death only to pop up and just, rub it in everybody's face that, they didn't care about you enough until they all thought you died. What a piece of shit.
And that is kind of the primary comment under his the TikTok video he posted, is people are like, can't imagine why his family doesn't want to hang out with him. Shit like
really,
this.
You would never do that to me, right?
No, I would not do that. I might fake my death because, if there ever comes a time where I don't feel like doing the podcast anymore, I would not be able to have that conversation with you. It'd probably be easier to fake my death and then go into hiding for the rest of my life.
You don't think that I would be able to do the podcast by myself?
Oh, no, I completely think it, but I think you would take it incredibly personally if I said I don't want to do the podcast anymore ever.
I'd be very nervous setting up the links right off the bat. And I'm not sure that I would be able to start and end a broadcast.
I would give you Matt, though. I would give you Matt to handle all that stuff.
Next thing you know, I'm a cocaine addict, just like him.
Listen, you're getting about that age where it's good to get into cocaine.
I feel like I missed the window. I'm not sure that at my advanced age, my heart could handle cocaine.
No,
but I know it's been very stepped on by the time I, the consumer, get my nose on it. But, the amount of fentanyl that is going around, especially in Kensington, PA, because I know that if I were to ever try cocaine for the first time, I would ask you or Mrs. Ron to drive me down to Kensington so that I could cop down there. And who knows how much cocaine is actually in the cocaine.
We'll discuss after the show.
I did see a guy snort something on the subway this past week, and he was out cold within seconds.
Dude, that seems, I don't believe that would be cocaine unless he just OD'd.
Yeah, no. I don't think it was cocaine. So he was sitting across from me. He was wearing what looked like pajama pants with white sneakers, and he was acting a little, shifty. So I had my, what do you call it? I had my, peripheral vision on him. Then I noticed that his pants had a lot of stains on them. Like he had slept in them quite a few times. So right. I realized at that point, I was like, oh, I am definitely going to be paying attention to this guy on the subway ride. I was going up on the 405. I don't remember where I was going, but I was on the 405 heading up north. Next thing I know, I saw he was like fidgeting with his hands a little bit. He had like a little vial, a plastic vial that was about yay big. He opened it and tapped out what looked like a pink paper that had been folded multiple times. Next thing I know, I looked away, I looked back, and I saw he lifted the pink paper to his nose and went like this. Then he went, and literally, I'm not exaggerating, within 5 to 10 seconds, I saw him doing this.
Maybe he was snorting some Tylenol PM. You don't know.
I don't know, but I was just like, man. Then the next thing I know, he tried to open his eyes and read a newspaper. And I was just like, dude, you're not fooling anyone. You went from shifty to literally passed out on the 4-5 train going up. I think that was actually Friday that happened. Anywho, make a long story short, Ron, I saw a man do drugs this week.
All right. Meanwhile, Peggy's trying hard not to imagine Brian's straining face while he was on cocaine. I picture it'd be something like this. I'm so high, man, and I got fentanyl running through my veins. I got to work on my Brian impression. It's not one of my better ones.
You know, Ron, I once made stickers for the merch store
Yep.
using a photo of you. And if
Yep.
I remember correctly, you in your final act as champion said those stickers are not to be released into the wild.
But you have made no such decree, so.
Not yet. Why
Not
would
yet.
I?
So Allie mentioned she was actually waiting for the Rosa Montoya story. We were going to do that, so why don't we just kind of tee that up? We actually follow trans influencer Rose Montoya on Instagram. She was at the White House the other week for President Biden's Pride Party, and then caught a bit of flack because she exposed her breast after meeting with President Biden. There is a photo of her there covering her breast with
Those
her
are
hands.
fake. Those breasts are fake.
I would say they probably are. So she was barred from the executive mansion. A White House spokesperson said she flouted basic etiquette and quote, "This behavior is inappropriate and disrespectful for any events at the White House." What you can't really see in the picture is there were two men on each side of her also taking their shirts off as well.
Yes. And somehow when she did it, she gets banned from the White House. The two guys.
Well, they were the other
for
two
her.
gentlemen. Those two gentlemen were banned as well, but I don't think they have the following that she does.
Exactly. Let's also be well. First off, the photographer really didn't, try to capture them whatsoever. But what I was going to say is, had she not been there and they just took their shirts off, I guarantee you they would not have been banned. I mean, the McDonald's delivery guy was not banned during the Trump White House. I mean, if I remember correctly, he was given a top secret, do not slow down delivery clearance credentials, so that whenever he would show up to the White House with his 4 Big Macs at 11:30 at night for delivery, he would roll right through to the executive.
I'm trying to see how a DoorDash delivery person equates to someone going topless at a White House event.
Well, he was also a trans male. So he still had his, he had not had the top surgery yet. So he still had his breasts and was always topless.
Gotcha. She not only has received a lot of backlash online, she has also received a ton of backlash on her own Instagram page. A lot of her supporters stating that, she owes the president an apology and that there is a time and place for everything. What's your take on it, Brian?
My take, I think that it is ludicrous that men can walk around without a shirt on, women cannot. I also think that it's absolutely embarrassing. Not in the. I mean, there are greater travesties in this world, but it does seem somewhat. What's the word I'm thinking of? I don't want to say uncouth, but it just seems like you get an invitation to the White House. You are there for a Pride event. And your great idea is, hey, let's film a TikTok, but let's all take our shirts off, and show off. It feels like that wasn't really the right place to go for social media clout.
Kind of case read the room or read the garden, as it were.
Sure. Now it's one thing if Joe Biden asked her to take her shirt off.
Sure.
That would be different.
Right.
That I can understand. That would be understand. But I highly doubt that he even was anywhere near her.
As far as we can tell, he only sniffed her. He did not ask her to take her top off.
However, I would like to say that next week I will be drinking Rose Montoya's newest beer that she is putting out. It is a lager. It's called Two-Handed Lager.
For a second there, I thought you were going to say you ordered some of her bath water and was going to be drinking that.
Who says I didn't already order her bath water?
Anyway. Wow, look at this. Allie agreeing with Brian for a second time. Brian, wow. You've really come a long way, Brian. I have to give you credit.
What? I have a question. Why is it that you think I have come a long way? Maybe Allie is just becoming an angry white male. Like maybe her now, her viewpoint, her world view is now aligning with the angry male right.
That's very possible. And listen, we welcome her to the fold.
Of course.
Brian, I think before we get too far into this episode, we have to go to a segment that has become ridiculously popular in the short period of time that we have had it. It's a little segment we call, but the drag queens are the problem. We are going to start this week. We are going to, where are we going to here? Genesee County, Michigan, Brian. And where a former priest with the Lansing Diocese has been sentenced for sexually assaulting a 5-year-old boy. This is a mugshot of Vincent DiLorenzo, 84 years old, formerly of Flint. Back in on April 25th, he pled guilty to sexually assaulting a young boy.
No, this is so much worse. This is so much worse.
It's bad enough, but when I read this next sentence,
read it
you're
aloud.
Going to throw up in your mouth a little bit. So he sexually assaulted a 5-year-old boy following a service that DiLorenzo officiated for the boy's deceased family member in 1987.
That is so vile. That is so disgusting as a human being, to damage another human being in that way. Multiply that by a human being who has just lost a family member, and somehow a drag queen who wants to read a book to a child has got the right completely lathered up. But somehow nobody is arguing that we need to stop Catholic priests.
So
Not one. I've not heard one Republican person. I don't know if, are we still calling them people, Ron?
For the moment.
Okay, so I've not heard one Republican person screaming that we need to keep all Catholic priests away from children because we have to protect the children.
But listen to this. The Attorney General's office said that in exchange for DiLorenzo's guilty plea, remaining charges were dropped, which involved the sexual assault of a child from 1995 to 2000 when that child was a student at a parochial school in Burton, Michigan. And DiLorenzo was sentenced to serve 1 year in the Genesee County Jail. He will receive credit for 39 days served, and he has also been sentenced to 5 years of probation. Will have to register as a sex offender, engage in sex offender counseling, and pay restitution.
They should cut his genitals off and let him bleed out slowly.
I'm okay with that.
And anytime that area starts to clot, somebody should just stomp on it a few times to keep the blood flowing out.
Up next, Brian.
Oh, but by the way, Ron.
Yes.
The drag queens are the problem.
Sorry,
not
I forgot
Catholic
to say that.
Priests.
Forgot to say that.
Okay.
Going down to Gallatin, Tennessee, the former director of the Sumner County Food Bank was indicted after he was accused of prostitution and stealing thousands of dollars from the place where he worked. So in May of 2022, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation agents began investigating James Gill, the former director of the Sumner County Food Bank. During the investigation, they found that the 81-year-old used the organization's money to make personal purchases. He allegedly wrote checks to himself from the food bank's account and transferred the money to other accounts under a different nonprofit name. Further investigation reveals that Gill paid a food bank volunteer for sex acts. On June 8th, he was indicted on 1 count of theft of property over $250,000, 1 count of money laundering, and 1 count of patronizing prostitution.
A piece of shit. You are stealing money that has been earmarked. What little money has been earmarked for those that most need it, and he is stealing it for that purpose.
But Brian, it's the drag queens that are the problem.
Of course, we need to protect the children, Ron.
Finally, 42 women and 10 minors say that they plan to sue the West Virginia State Police after an investigation revealed that a camera had been hidden in the women's locker room at the State Police Training Academy in Institute, West Virginia. This is just one of a number of allegations that were sent in an anonymous letter in February to Governor Jim Johnson, detailing over a dozen incidents of misconduct within the state police department, including intoxicated altercations, office affairs, misappropriated funds, sexual assaults, and more. But as of now, the only allegation to spur legal action is that a state trooper had installed a video camera in the women's locker room. Not only did the footage show women being recorded, but also the underage girls who were enrolled in the Junior Trooper Academy as well.
Disgusting.
It's a drag
Right,
queen.
Ron?
It's the drag queens that are the problem.
It's drag queens. They are the thing that we need to stop.
You know who else we need to stop, Brian? Apparently. Tony the
Titanic
Tiger.
tour. Oh, sorry.
Tony the Tiger.
Tiger.
Tony the Tiger has been canceled, Brian.
They're canceled.
So-
Why are we canceling Tony the Tiger?
So apparently, Tony the Tiger, who I'm not quite sure conservatives realize is not an actual being. So the mascot was at the Tony Awards carpet ceremony and had his. I'm assuming it's a him because his name's Tony. I don't want to gender assume a
Tony,
tiger here.
You've already gender assumed the tiger.
I do. But Tony took a photo with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney on the magenta carpet at the Tonys. Of course, Dylan Mulvaney, the same person that sponsored that Bud Light did a campaign with that put the conservatives up in arms. So now, apparently, Tony the Tiger needs to be canceled, which, listen, I think there's too much sugar in Frosted Flakes for conservatives to really boycott them. Like that's a pretty solid white trash breakfast right there. A little Frosted Flakes with whole milk, Brian. None of this skim bullshit.
Red cap all the way. So you're judging Frosted Flakes?
I mean, I'm just saying, Frosted Flakes, I
See.
feel aren't they're not the part of a nutritious breakfast.
Okay, hold on. All right. I know that we're talking cornflakes with sugar on it. I get it. However, I think you are missing out on an entire, Cocoa Puffs. You've
I agree.
all the Count Choculas and Count Marshmallows and what's
I
the
bet
blue
you that
one?
I bet you that the Blueberry.
I thought you were going to say Rose Montoya. Hey now.
I bet the Cocoa Puff bird would do cocaine with you.
No, I believe Matt currently thinks he is doing cocaine with the Cocoa Puffs bird.
That would be an interesting conversation. What illegal acts do you think various cereal mascots would engage in? Like, I feel Cocoa Puffs bird, cocaine.
Do you want to play that game during After Dark? I mean, I
Possibly.
can work on. Yeah, see, Allie's all about the Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
I think Snap, Crackle, Pop, incest. Don't know why.
I was going to say, what is that? A lemon party? What do they call those things? Is that the lemon party reference?
Possibly. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, 2 girls, 1 cup.
Did you ever see that?
I started to, and I had to turn it off.
That's a shame.
That's a good call. 100% Sugar Bear is a pimp.
Sugar Bear is a pimp. I mean, just the name.
Just the name. Brian,
Listen, when we're canceling cartoon characters, it's I also thought, wasn't Grimace also announced this week as a LGBTQ idol?
was he? I
thought
missed that
McDonald's.
part.
I'm pretty sure. Hold on, give me a moment. Fill in the silence as I look up Grimace canceled.
Like, I know apparently Grimace went away and now he's back, but I didn't even realize he went away to begin with. But now there's a big thing about Grimace coming back.
Yeah, I thought there was something going on with Grimace in the news today.
Yeah, that I couldn't tell you.
Here, McDonald's mascot Grimace becomes an LGBTQ plus icon as part of a new campaign at McDonald's, part of a birthday meal. Customers can also get a birthday meal that includes a 10-piece. How
He ain't
many
a-
nuggets do you think you can eat at one time?
He ain't a snack. He's a whole meal, Brian.
Easy there.
All right. How many chicken McNuggets do
Yeah,
I think I can
right
do?
now. Yeah. I'm
Oh,
not, and
right
I'm not
now?
talking about in your I'm not talking about like in your heyday where
Well,
you
no, I'm
were,
saying like
um,
I've had dinner, so I'm not as hungry. Like if I were to sit down for a meal, how many nuggets
oh,
could I
I don't
eat?
mean literally right now.
Right.
I mean, in 2023, you are hungry, not
Right.
ravenous. You haven't been starving, but it's dinner time, and you are invited to the White House. It is 2025.
Right.
Trump is
Trump is
the new
back in
president. Trump
power.
is the president. He's back. McDonald's has become the official restaurant of the White House.
I've coached
Um,
the Wisconsin women's football team to the NCAA championship. We are at the White House. He is serving us McDonald's. There are McNuggets. I could probably do 26.
Whew.
How many do you think?
They're very small.
Well,
I
that's
think
the
if
thing.
I'm,
They're not. There's not a lot of substance to them.
no, I think that I could probably knock out 40. But I also think that I would be grossly sick the next day.
Oh yeah. No, that goes without saying. Now, if they were the Wendy's spicy nuggets, I think I'm upwards of 40 there.
Yeah. Okay, that's a much better call.
Yeah, that's better quality product, I think.
Well, what does McDonald's put out that's actual quality? McDonald's, if you're listening and want to sponsor us, please feel free.
See, I'm
what
still
would
a
you-
fan of the quarter pounder with cheese, even though it's not a
I have
great
found
product.
the last couple times I have eaten one, they are so greasy
Right.
that
No, the quality
don't
continues to go downhill.
I don't remember the quarter pounder being so greasy. The last couple times I've ordered, and it used to be my go-to.
Right.
I never fucked with the Big Mac. It was just it was
never a fan.
sloppy. That middle bun used to just soak up all of the sauce and the grease, and it was disgusting. I always mess with the quarter pounder. But what I noticed is that the grease emanating and oozing out the sides, and the other thing that really bothers me about McDonald's, and I guess this might be true with the others, but is that they don't actually heat it once the cheese is on the burger.
Yeah.
They're assuming that the heat from the meat is going to melt the cheese, and it never does,
Doesn't
because
happen.
by the time you're ordering McDonald's, you are already such a piece of garbage that you're not letting that food sit. You are opening it up immediately upon
Tearing
receiving
into
it. And that cheese is not even warmed at that point. You can actually feel the cold cheese as you chew it. So, no, I will not do a quarter pounder with cheese anymore.
All right. We did have, for whatever reason, we managed to compile a series of stories this week of people having sex with things that they shouldn't have sex with, apart from the priest having sex with young boys. That's just
Right.
a given. So this first story comes to us from the UK, where a man was arrested for allegedly kissing, caressing, and having passionate sex with a tree at a popular public park in England. Apparently, he went long enough so that someone could actually take a video of him. This is, you'll see his clothes lying on the ground next to the tree. He was actually there long enough for someone to catch a video of him undressing, and then I guess he found a hole in the tree and started to have sex with it.
Now, is this man not afraid of splinters?
I mean,
Like, I don't even want,
would-
if I don't want a splinter on my hand.
right. Like you would think. I mean, I'm not seeing like that he's got like any type of lube or anything like that. Like
Is he wearing a condom?
This seems very dangerous. This seems like you
Sure.
could get a splinter, you could get some kind of tree rot, you could get there's a lot going on there.
There could be a small animal burrowed inside of that piece of wood.
Now, I will say this. Apparently, he did kiss the tree, so he did provide some foreplay. He didn't just jam it in. He worked the tree up a little bit. But apparently, about 25 people were hanging out in this green space area when he started to make sweet love to this tree, and eventually get arrested. He gets arrested on suspicion of indecent exposure. Like, I
Sure.
feel like looking at this photo, there's no suspicion there.
Now, my question is, A, did the tree give consent? Or are we watching a rape?
Valid question. Very valid question.
Second of all, why is the tree white on top but brown on the bottom?
Maybe an older tree, maybe a silver fox of a tree, if you will.
Ooh, like John Slattery or whatever that dude's name is from Mad Men.
Oh yeah, he's a silver fox, no doubt about
It's the way I want to go out.
it. Is it
What?
having sex with John Slattery? That's how you want to exit the world.
No, but I do acknowledge that he would be having sex with me, not the other way around.
So you would bottom for John Slattery.
I would definitely bottom, but I also don't think that it would be a matter of me willingly bottoming. I think he just automatically would claim the top spot.
But you would provide him consent, and then he would dominate you.
Of course.
All right. Just want to clear that up, that he wasn't going to be, there wasn't going to be any active aggression here, was what I was trying to clarify. All right, fair enough. Next up, a 20-year-old Indiana man who allegedly had sex with his family's dog and then threatened to kill his mother with a hammer after she witnessed his sick act. This is Blake Reffitt of Elkhart. He was charged last week with bestiality and intimidation with a deadly weapon after his mother allegedly saw him with his pants down with their dog pinned on the couch back in March of 2022. According to court documents, he grabbed a hammer and threatened to kill his mom and burn her body if she called the police.
Ooh. Okay. Problematic.
Just a little bit. So he was actually booked back in March, where he's being held on $5,000 bond. Going to go out on a limb and say his mother probably will not be bailing him out of jail.
Well, I mean, why would you bail him out?
Right? No, I agree.
What's going on his face? Can we talk about that?
I mean,
Are these abrasion marks? Or are they moles?
It's interesting because there's another photo of him in the article, but he may have filtered that one where he doesn't have those marks. But a little moles, little maybe buckshot. Who knows?
His hair looks very unkempt. I wish he had combed his hair before the photo taken.
He's not smiling in his mugshot either, which I think you shouldn't. One of the priest earlier was smiling in his mugshot, and I find that very disconcerting. This is how you should look in a mugshot.
But who was the Republican congressman who
Tom DeLay
broke?
I will always remember that mugshot because he was like,
it was a game changer. It literally was a game changer because up to that point,
hair had been done that day.
He was
tie,
perfect.
suit, flag pin, just.
It was a stellar photo, and everybody was. I remember leading into that photo was sitting there, be like, "Oh my goodness, the mugshot is going to be out there, and he's not going to be able to control, his image anymore." And suddenly, it was the most glorious mugshot that existed in the world. But thank God, Ron, we got those two disgusting stories out of the way with people having sex with things that they shouldn't. I'm glad we can finally move on.
Well, wait, Brian. We've got one more story of people having sex with something that they shouldn't. A longtime award-winning Penn State professor allegedly performed sexual acts with his dog that were captured on a state forest trail camera. We are talking about Themis Matsoukas, age 64, who was charged Tuesday after he was allegedly caught earlier this year naked from the waist down, except for his socks and shoes, committing the perverted sex act with his collie near bathrooms at Rockroth State Forest in Pennsylvania. Matsoukas, who is now on leave from the university, was identified through a North Face backpack as he was carrying from an incident in April and also May. He allegedly tried to record himself performing the lewd acts with an electronic tablet.
iPad.
Maybe it's an Android device. You don't know.
But I'm sure he handled himself very well and respectfully once police showed up to arrest him. I'm sure he held his head up high.
When investigators told him that they thought he knew why they were searching his home, he replied repeatedly, "I'm done. I'm dead." He also begged rangers to shoot him, saying, quote, "I need to die," and additionally told investigators, "I do it to blow off steam."
Now, is Steam the name of his dog?
Why?
Come on, you saw that coming. There's no way that you didn't see that as the low-hanging fruit.
I was
that
just hoping we could possibly get through this story.
I'm having fun. This is a fun, loose episode. I'm rolling with it.
So Rangers found the backpack and ski mask that was visible in April footage, and they also saw a collie in his home that matched the dog in the video. He has been charged with open lewdness, indecent exposure, and sexual intercourse with an animal, and summary charges of cruelty to animals and disorderly conduct. According to authorities, he allegedly has been partaking in lewd acts in the forest since 2014. I hope at the very least they remove the dog from the home.
Sure. I'm sure. Yeah.
Again, innocent until proven guilty, but hopefully they took the dog away from him.
First off, I'm sure they took the dog. Second of all, I mean, even if this guy somehow gets the same sweetheart deal, by the way, we've already lost 2 viewers in the past 5 minutes. 2 people literally dropped out of the live feed in the past couple minutes. And I can't figure out why. I cannot figure out why, people. But, the thing that makes me feel somewhat, I don't want to say vindicated, because that would imply I'm some way related to the story. But the thing that somewhat makes me feel that justice will be served is that this man's photo, name, and what he has been accused of is now on the internet.
Yes.
It will not be wiped out.
It will never go away.
Even if he is found innocent in a court of law by a jury of his peers, who is he going to find to be on his jury that can claim to be a peer of his?
Right.
Other people that bring their dogs to blow off steam in a national park?
Well, the guy from Michigan that was fucking his dog, he can be on the jury.
And the guy who was putting his pecker in the tree.
So that's 2. He just needs 10 more.
10 more. But the idea is the fact that even if he is exonerated here, no matter what job he applies for, other than maybe working at McDonald's, making those, maybe he's
quarter pounders,
those greasy quarter pounders with the unmelted cheese. Everybody's going to know that this is what he does in his spare time. Like, how do you sit there and say to him, so what was his name again?
Themis Soukakis?
Okay. Greek.
Themis Matsoukis, excuse me.
Themis. They'd be like, "Hey, Themis, what'd you do this weekend?" And just as he's about to answer, they're going to be like, "So did you fuck your dog?" Like, like he will never be able to hold an office job ever again.
Right. Well,
or any type of job.
I can't say I feel bad for him.
I don't feel bad for him whatsoever. They should, if we're going to cut the priest's genitals off and let him bleed a slow death, Ron, what do you think is a fitting punishment for Themis?
I think you bind him by his wrists and ankles. You strip him naked. You smear wet dog food all over his genitals and release hungry dogs on him.
Wow.
Sorry.
I was going to say you take him down to Tijuana, where he becomes the latest star.
Are we going donkey show?
We are indeed going donkey show. However, here it is. He will, instead of being able to blow off steam with his dog, the donkey will be blowing off steam in Themis.
I like that as well.
That's where I go.
I like that as well. Brian, next up, we know you love Philadelphia. We know you especially love the Philadelphia dialect. We didn't really get a chance to talk last week about I-95 and the fire and part of I-95 crumbling. But it led to a number of interviews of locals. One, I know you really love this one. Let me see if I can find this one. This is a gentleman from Northeast Philadelphia who is being referred to as the most Northeast Philly person on the planet by his accent.
Dude, so I was passed out and I woke up to nothing but text messages, phone calls.
I was passed
No idea
out.
what was going on.
I woke up. I got a lot of phone calls. I ordered a hoagie with some water.
And I'm like, damn.
I woke up, drank some water.
A little water. By the way, not a side note. We should be listening to him, but I do, and I know this annoys the daylights out of everyone. I'm not doing it for that purpose. But I finally had a water ice.
And what did you think?
Loved it.
There you go.
Loved it. They don't have them up here.
No, they don't.
First off, what I love about this guy is the mustache with the 5 o'clock shadow that's kicking in. It's actually like at 8 o'clock.
Well, he
I
was passed out, Brian. He was clearly passed out when
out.
it happened, and he woke up to a bunch of text messages and voicemails.
And me and my boy went out. Me and Maddie, we went down for a hoagie.
Have you been watching the live stream of the I-95 repair?
There's a live stream of the I-95 repair.
If you go on to, apparently, I don't know if it's the governor's website or the state of Pennsylvania website, there is a live stream so that 24/7 you can watch the progress on the reconstruction of I-95.
It's on YouTube right now.
They actually held a viewing party at Xfinity Live down by the sports stadiums the other weekend.
Why on earth would they do that?
Well, because, I mean, what's more Philly than standing around drinking and just watching anything on the TV?
God damn it. Philly is such its own Philly is its own beast. I absolutely love it, while at the same time just utterly cringing from it.
But I mean, you love the people of Philadelphia.
I love the people I have met from Philadelphia. There are people in Philly that give it a very bad reputation. Like the people who, what was the little cardboard robot that traveled across Canada?
Oh, the Hitchbot.
That made it all the way to Philadelphia to be ripped apart within like minutes of entering America.
Just dismantled.
The people that threw batteries at Santa.
Listen, you're acting like Santa didn't deserve it.
The people that booed Michael Irvin after he had been basically dealt a career-ending injury on the field.
I mean, that was I was there that day. I was there for that game, and as my friend who was an Eagles fan said, this doesn't look good.
No. What about the hero worship of a fictional boxer over any of its actual sports heroes?
I would say not over any sports heroes. People love Allen Iverson. People love Big Dick Nick.
Problematic.
Nick Foles. People
Problematic.
love Reggie White. People love Jason Kelce. Mike Schmidt. You're going to say Mike Schmidt is problematic?
What are you talking about?
He's a Philadelphia athlete legend, Hall of Famer.
Are we talking the same Mike Schmidt
from the Phillies?
Yeah.
Are you gonna? I asked if you were gonna call him problematic.
Why would I call him problematic?
You were calling all these other guys problematic, and I'm still not sure why.
I think I can if I want to.
No, listen, if that's how you want to be. We don't normally get into a lot of sports apart from the Yankees and apart from picks of the week, but there were a couple of sports stories that we had to cover. This one, kind of a sad story. This Sunday, as we know, was Father's Day, which is why we are broadcasting tonight, Monday night. Well, the Atlanta Braves player, Charlie Culberson, he was supposed to have a very special Father's Day with his dad. His dad was supposed to throw out the first pitch on Father's Day at Truist Park. But however, those plans had to change after Atlanta designated Culberson for assignment to make room for catcher Chadwick Tromp. So instead, the father of Braves outfielder Michael Harris II handled the first pitch before the game against the Colorado Rockies. Harris went 5 for 5 in the game, in the Braves 14-6 win. That is kind of sad though. Like, I have to imagine, as a father, you're probably so very proud of your son making it to the major leagues, and then you're going to have the opportunity to throw out the first pitch, and then on the day you're supposed to do that, the team is like, well, we don't really want this guy anymore.
Well, do you think that they sent him down because they hated the father?
I don't know. I mean, I guess that is a possibility.
Interesting.
I guess that is a possibility.
Have you ever thrown out a first pitch at any kind of sporting event?
I have not.
Me neither.
I don't know that I would want to. That seems like a lot of pressure for a relatively little bit of screen time. Like, it seems like you get more notoriety by doing it poorly. Like, I think Chris Rock has one of the all-time bad first pitches. Baba Booey, Gary Dell'Abate.
50 Cent.
Pitch.
50 Cent has the worst.
Oh my God, that was a horrible pitch as well.
50 Cent. Okay, here's the next question. Would you rather throw out the first pitch at a baseball game, or would you rather take a half-court shot in an NBA game? So, like, we're talking, you're talking a baseball
right.
stadium.
No, I got you.
Or, because the thing is, and as somebody who has attended an NBA game this most recent season,
right,
I will say that those half-court shots, they absolutely get the crowd's attention.
They do.
Everybody's paying attention to what you're doing at that moment.
So this may shock a lot of our viewers and listeners out there. I'm not an overly athletic man, Brian. And I have to think about what will I look more embarrassing doing.
Sure.
And I will say my basketball shooting form is significantly more embarrassing than my pitching form. And I feel I have the potential of at least throwing the ball in the direction of home plate. It's going to bounce. I mean, that's 60 feet, 6 inches. That is a long distance.
Yep.
But I can at least probably get it going in the right direction.
Sure.
The flail that I would make of that half court shot, probably throwing out my back and my elbow at the same time, that would be much more embarrassing.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I think that it's way more embarrassing to take a half court shot. Worst cases, I think taking a free throw in basketball would be embarrassing, because I think I would airball it.
Well, I remember when we used to go to arena football games, and they would have people go down on the field and try and kick field goals. Like, I would be that would be my worst case scenario, is to go to arena football game and be picked to try and do that. I'd be like, you know what? Let that little kid there. Let the Make-A-Wish kid kick it. I can't do this.
Well, sometimes, I think they stopped doing arena football when they were kicking the Make-A-Wish kid.
Again, the low-hanging fruit. I don't know why.
I know, and yet you still set me up every time for it. I appreciate it.
As always, we cover all fishing-related news here. We covered
anything
Fishgate
fishing-related
earlier in the year, and now we have the story about a fishing crew that was denied $3.5 million in prize money after a 600-pound marlin was DQ'd in a tournament. Here is a photograph of the crew bringing. I mean, it's an impressive fish, without.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the issue here, if you don't mind me just jumping in, because this article I did read earlier today, is that for the marlin to qualify for the top prize, and keep in mind, this was by far the largest fish that was caught during this competition.
Sure.
However, one of the bylaws or guidelines in this fishing contest is that the fish must be free of any type of mutilation.
Right, exactly.
It must be a perfectly pristine fish. And unfortunately, this fish showed signs that it had been bitten by a larger shark.
And so basically what they're saying is, because it had been attacked by a shark, it was easier to land than it necessarily would have been otherwise. This was at the Big Rock Blue Marlin tournament in North Carolina. It was actually a 619-pound marlin. I mean, the crew said they had to fight it for 6 hours to land it. But what's crazy is the amount of prize money. The crew would have earned $2.77 million for coming in first place, and another $739,500 for the first catch of the year. That is more than 500 pounds. A crew named Sushi ended up winning the tournament by landing a 484.5-pound blue marlin, which is impressive in its own right.
Sure. Now, did anybody check the stomach contents to see if there were any lead weights inside of the fish?
I think when you're dealing with that size fish, you probably don't need to check it. Maybe you
check
should
it
anyway. Maybe you should.
Quite possible. Ron, can I ask you a question?
Of course, you can ask me a question.
What are you watching?
What am I watching, Brian? I did watch, so still watching Silo, still watching From, both excellent shows. I also caught the first episode of the new season of Black Mirror, coming back after about 3 or 4 years at this point.
Oh, I think it was definitely 3. I think the last season was just a couple episodes, and it was right around the beginning of the pandemic, if I'm not correct.
And only 5 episodes so far, I believe, for this season.
Understood. I think that they are also becoming more, what's the word I'm thinking of? I think the more their budget is going towards the talent.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Whereas I think that, there really wasn't a need to get Annie Murphy and Salma Hayek.
Right.
It cost money. Don't get me wrong. And I absolutely understood. But I think the show might have actually been better without a name actress. Like, one of the things that I thought made it so good in the first couple of seasons was the strength of the acting by actors that I was completely unfamiliar with.
Right.
That it allowed me to not look at the screen and sit there and go, oh, that's Salma Hayek. She has been in a movie I watched before.
Right.
I couldn't name one movie Salma Hayek has ever been in. I know she was in something by Pedro Almodovar.
She was in Frida.
Didn't watch that.
She was in Dogma. I remember her in that.
I watched that briefly and was stupid, and I never watched it again.
She was in From Dawn Till Dusk with George Clooney and Quentin Tarantino.
Don't believe I ever watched that.
All right. Which is fine.
Yeah, that's fine. And Annie Murphy, obviously, from Schitt's Creek and whatnot.
Correct. Yes.
But the first episode is basically a woman is going through a somewhat a life crisis, I guess you could call it. And her life is being dramatized on a TV show that everybody in her vicinity is watching.
Yes. Based on a streaming platform, almost, it was obviously it's Netflix, but it's called streaming.
Correct.
I liked the first episode. It got a little what's the word I'm looking for? Metaphysical at the end.
Cutesy? Oh, I thought you were going to say. I liked the first half of it. I thought it had great potential, and then I felt like it just kind of slid. I feel like the introduction of Salma Hayek actually in the show. I felt like if you were going to bring in Salma Hayek to actually be part of the show and not just an actress on TV, then I think you had to take it to the next level and also get Cate Blanchett.
Very true. Very true.
And
but I'll watch the rest of the season. I mean, again,
did you watch the second episode?
I didn't watch it yet. I watched the first episode. Still have other episodes. Did you watch more than the first episode?
I watched the second episode last night. I will not spoil it for you, other than to say that it was the butler that did it in the study with a lead pipe.
I mean, I do think, it's still good. I still think the first couple of seasons are probably the best. But what's your favorite Black Mirror episode?
Okay. Obviously the first episode of season 1, when the prime minister has to have sex with a pig to let the princess live. I also thought that a great episode was, and obviously for those people who have never watched Black Mirror, it is a show of seemingly unrelated episodes, kind of like a Twilight Zone, that all feature technology's negative impact on society.
Right.
I think there was one episode where everybody's social media score was visible.
That was one with Ron Howard's kids. Bryce Howard was the star in that one.
She's related to Ron Howard?
Well, I believe that's his daughter.
Did not know that.
All right.
I thought that was a great episode.
It was good.
I also liked the episode of the two African American males who were into playing video games with each other, and one of them chose a female character avatar to play, and then the two characters would have sex. But these two guys were heterosexual in life, or were putting forth it. I thought that was also very clever.
I mean, that's in your Pornhub search right there. That whole. Oh,
it's I have it downloaded on my iPad. And then the other episode that I can think of thinking very cleverly was when people had to exercise to get points. That they could convert that to food, which just kind of felt like we were all just, technological slaves. I thought those are just some of the brilliant episodes I could think of. How about yourself?
I mean, those are all excellent. I agree with you on those. I think hands down, my favorite is White Bear. The episode where it starts off, this woman wakes up, she doesn't know where she is, she doesn't remember who she is, she's just in a house, and she's running through this this neighborhood, and people are taking pictures of her, and she doesn't know why. No one will help her, people are chasing her, trying to shoot her, and then they capture her, and at the end they bring her in front of an audience, and you find out that her and her boyfriend had kidnapped a little girl, and her boyfriend ended up killing the little girl and committing suicide. And so now her sentence is that she has to relive the fear that girl felt by being drugged each and every night and wake up and not knowing what the new day is.
Oh, I did not remember that. Jesus.
That was hands down one of the darkest episodes.
I remember
and
that.
I think there was also one with a dating app where you're following this woman meeting someone in a dating app, but you find out that at the end, they're not actually people, they are the avatars inside the dating app. So they're not sent in it, but they don't realize it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really there really is a lot of great episodes, more great ones than not.
Yeah, I think just very just a great show. Anything else?
I think that's all I watched this week. It wasn't. If you count this as watching, we did go with the Jardis, friends of the podcast, down to Lincoln Financial Field on Friday night to see Stevie Nicks and Billy Joel in concert.
Tell us about it.
I will say, great concert. Stevie Nicks, amazing voice. I mean, still amazing voice. She's 76 years old. Still puts on a great show. She did a couple of Tom Petty songs, kind of in tribute to him. Of course, she did, Stop Dragging My Heart Around. And then she did Free Falling in his honor. And then finished up with doing Landslide in honor for Christine McVie. Not a dry eye in the house for that one.
Oh, okay. That's very nice. How was Billy Joel?
Billy Joel. And I know you mentioned you had seen him a while back at Madison Square Garden and felt the energy level wasn't there that it used to be. He blew the place apart.
Really?
He was so good.
Was he blowing off steam?
He was blowing off steam, but just a great show. Just a lot of energy. I mean, it's so interesting because I would say I'm not a huge fan of Stevie Nicks' songs so much, but her voice is just amazing.
Oh, she's got an incredible.
Whereas Billy Joel, I don't think anyone would ever say Billy Joel has a great voice, but his songs are amazing. His energy level is amazing. And the different styles of music that he has experimented with over his entire career, it makes for a fun show.
Did they perform any songs together?
He came out and did the Tom Petty part of Stop Dragging My Heart Around.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Did he headline? She want to go on first?
She opened. He headlined.
Okay, that feels a little sexist, but it is Philadelphia. I can understand that, Ron. And if you were asking me, I went to go see a concert on Friday and Sunday. I saw New York hardcore legends from Brooklyn, New York, Biohazard, in their first show in New York City. Original OG lineup for, I would say, probably at least a dozen years. So good, I had to go see it again.
Nice.
Just splendid.
Splendid.
Nice.
And speaking of what am I watching, I just would like to close out. I watched the movie so you don't have to. I watched Avatar, The Way of Water on Disney Plus. Now, keep in mind, people, is that to really get into the mood of Avatar 2, The Way of Water, I also had to watch Avatar 1, The Way of the Forest, or whatever the fuck it was called. Watch the first one. It didn't hold up for the second time around. And then the idea of watching The Way of the Water. So this one right off the bat picks up where the last episode ended, but then moves forward. And now it's all about the kids. It's the next generation. Right. So you start off with Jake Scully and his blue wife, Mrs. Smurf. And then it's their children. They've got like 4 children, but then there's some other people who have children. The children all look the same, which I think is kind of like the message here is the fact of like, you know, what we look like on the outside, we all look the same. We look like people. And what's important and sets us apart is what's on the inside. That's what that guy was trying to find out with his dog. But to make a long story short, I watched The Way of the Water. Just fucking brutal. This one was over 3 hours. James Cameron, in all honesty, it started to feel like Titanic at some point. It felt like James Cameron was returning to Titanic.
Oh, real quick, Brian, tell us about the Titanic tourist submarine.
Ooh, go submarine. Go submarine, Ron. We are living right now, people, today, right now, in real time. There is a ghost submarine somewhere off of Newfoundland. There is, I didn't even know it existed. But last week, we were talking about ghost airplanes that just literally were flying in the air, not being controlled by humans, as the humans had passed out. There apparently, I had no idea this was going on. There is a diving expedition that charges $250,000 per person that will take you 12,500 feet to the ocean floor so that you can look at the remains of the Titanic. Ron, how much would you pay for that?
I don't know that I'd be fine watching it on TV. I don't know that.
Same here.
Physically going to the water for that.
The level of claustrophobia that would kick in as soon as that submarine door hatch, you know, is being locked in, and you realize you're in there for days, because you can't just go down 12,500 feet and pop right back up.
Right.
You'll get the bends. We know that you're going to get the bends.
Yep.
So what happens is you have to slowly go down and slowly ascend. So I would say from what so this boat had 5 people in it. I imagine at least 2 to 3 are crew. And then you're talking about the people that were paying, probably 2 or 3 people then are the tour. This submarine lost all contact within 2 hours of being released into the water, into the ocean. This was 24 hours ago. That submarine has no more than oxygen for 4 days. So they, whomever the people, I guess it's the Coast Guard, because the U.S. Coast Guard is used for just any type of rescue, except maybe SEAL Team 4, I believe, also from the Navy SEAL Team 4. They're also used quite a bit. Anyway, so they're trying to find this submarine. It's a submersible, I believe is actually
submersible. You're correct.
It's a submersible. As you can see, there's certain stories that really get me excited. Having the idea of just a ghost submarine out there. The only thing that would make it better is if Ed Harris was manning this submarine and there were nuclear weapons that had just been dropped by the submersible down onto the ocean floor. But that was another James Cameron movie called The Abyss.
Anyway, so yes, as you say, Brian, they say they have between 70 and 96 hours of life support. 24 of those hours have already passed. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, the hope is, you know, that they can find this vessel and bring it back to safety. But let's just say worst case scenario, like I would hope for their sake that something happened and they were just killed instantly. Because can you imagine being underwater, stuck in this submersible for 4 days,
knowing that you're going to die in it,
and then knowing that whenever that oxygen runs out, slowly watching you and the people around you die? Like I can't picture a more horrible death.
Yeah,
please don't.
I said
something went through your head just then, and you were like, "I feel this would be a more horrible death," and you held it in.
Keeping it to myself. But I did have a conversation at work today, which is worse, drowning to death or being stuck in this submersible for 4 days? Like,
I'd go drowning because it's quicker.
just the better death.
It's the better death, without a doubt.
I completely agree with you. Now, my question is, you're in the submersible.
Right.
It's you, Mrs. Ron. You guys
Okay.
coughed up a $500,000 between the two of you.
Of course. It's what we
You
do.
are in the submersible. You are slowly being lowered to the ocean floor
Right.
when your captain, I'm your captain. Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to let you know, if you look off to your right, you'll see the Titanic. Unfortunately, we have lost contact and are all going to die. The question is, say you have 72 hours. They're like, listen, we're going to die in here. Hopefully they can find us. What do you do in those last 3 days?
I don't
You're
even
stuck
know.
down there, no internet, no books. It's just you and four and I was going to say 4 strangers, but we know Mrs. Ron is not necessarily a complete stranger to you. You've spent some time having some good hearts to hearts with her. But what do you do in that time?
I don't know. I couldn't even tell you. Like, I mean, I guess you say all those things that you want to say before the end of your time, Brian.
I've already said all those things to you, Ron.
Well, you say them again, Brian. You say them again.
I feel like there's more for us to discuss, but our time is running out.
Yeah, we've really run long today. So we are getting ready. We're 15 minutes away from After Dark.
After Dark. Ron, tell people, what is After Dark?
So if you subscribe to our Patreon, those of you that love us deeply have subscribed to the Patreon. There are others of you out there that say you're a friend of the podcast and haven't quite shelled out that $10 a month yet. But regardless, you can go to ronandbrianpodcast.com. You can click in the upper right-hand corner for become a patron. And if you joined at the $10 level or higher, you can join us at 9:30 for After Dark, when we cover some of the saucier stories that we don't get to cover on the main podcast.
This week, we are going to be discussing penis sizes across the globe.
And I apparently will be answering a "Am I the asshole?" question from Reddit.
Yep.
So it's going to be a good show. It's going to be a good show.
Absolutely.
So Patreon folks, you are in for a treat in 14 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else, that means you've got 14 minutes to go to ronandbrianpodcast.com, to click on the link, to sign up and join us for the Patreon later on. Brian.
Otherwise, I was just going to say thank you, everybody who has decided to join us. I see some new faces in the chat. I'd like to say go to YouTube, subscribe, comment, like, go to Patreon, subscribe, comment, like, reach out to my boss, subscribe, comment, like. Please don't reach out to my boss. But at the same time, it is, listen, we know it's a Monday. Most people are out there with their families and showing their appreciation for the importance that Juneteenth is. So I do appreciate that you are all able to carve out some of your Juneteenth this year, 2023, to spend with Ron and I. Hopefully we have entertained you. Hopefully we have shown you things that you should not be having sex with, such as dogs and trees. I hope that we have, absolutely, I hope we have showed you that it is not the drag queens who are the problem, but it is Catholic priests. It is
police officers, non-charity, non-profit leaders. Yeah, all
that. So there are a lot of people that are the problems. Go after the criminals. And otherwise, Ron, I would just like to personally thank you for spending the time with me.
All right. As always, it's been my pleasure as well. Thanks to all of you that joined us this week. For our Patreon folks, we will see you in a few minutes. Everybody else, we will see you next week.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you